Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 2 of this SD Times Live Microwebinar Series on end-to-end software testing. Just to remind everyone, in episode 1, we spoke with Dennis Nelson, the customer education lead at Mabel, about how automated end-to-end testing creates a safety net for innovation. That can be viewed on sdtimes.com under webinars in the Learning Center, and this one will be available there too. Today's discussion is going to focus on the maximizing the value of E2E tests with accessibility testing. And joining me today is Juliette McPhail. She's product manager at Mabel, which of course we know is a testing company. Before I throw it over there, I just want to let you know that questions will be taken during the presentation if your platform will enable that. So having said that, hello, Juliette, and let's get started.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Well, first and foremost, thank you to you all for taking the time today. I am so excited to talk to you about accessibility testing, how critical it is to test for accessibility throughout development, and how you can easily integrate accessibility into your existing functional testing. So a little bit about me before we dive into it. As David mentioned, my name is Juliette McPhail. I'm a product manager at Mabel. And throughout my time at Mabel, I've had the opportunity to develop both functional and non-functional testing solutions. In case of things like accessibility and performance, it's really such a joy to help organizations create exceptional and inclusive user experiences and enable them with the tools to make that process incredibly easy. So first and foremost, what exactly is accessibility testing? Simply put, this really means ensuring that your application or website is usable by as many people as possible. And that's really essential given that we live in a digital-first world. So this includes people who may have permanent or temporary disabilities, such as visual, hearing, motor, and cognitive. And it's actually estimated that about 15% of the global population live with some sort of disability. And that's a huge segment of the population that potentially won't be able to use or access your website and application, and by extension, is unable to benefit from the services that you provide. So we believe that accessibility is truly essential in a digital-first world. And one of the primary reasons for this is the need for inclusivity. So countries around the world are embracing stricter rules to ensure that everyone gets equal access to opportunities and resources. And it's fairly clear why that's such a pressing concern. Particularly during COVID, our economy and our society has become so much more reliant on digital platforms. It's not only a luxury, but in many cases, a website or an app may be the only way to get help, food, clothing, home supplies, and more. Another key reason is the recent increase in the number of lawsuits. So we saw a 64% increase in lawsuits in the first half of 2021 compared to 2020. And a majority of these impacted companies in the e-commerce space, particularly during the pandemic when it was the only way to purchase certain goods. So I'm not going to dive into all of the details of these litigations, but some notable lawsuits in this area include CVS Pharmacy for online vaccinations, H&R Block for their tax software, and for Peapod, which is one of the largest US grocery delivery services. And finally, it's good for business, not only from a brand perspective, but also for delivering better usability across the board. We've seen that companies that pay attention to accessibility end up creating more delightful experiences for all of their customers, not only the ones who depend on accessibility. And there are two additional points to note here. So first, this provides the ability to reach a wider audience. And by definition, if more people can access your service, more people can purchase it. And it also might be embedded in your company mission, especially if you're focused on inclusivity, equality, and access. So if we believe that building inclusive experiences is morally necessary and makes good business sense, why are teams actually struggling to do that? So we believe there are two main issues impacting development teams. The first is that the tools that were available were fairly disconnected from the development process. That means you're catching issues fairly late, maybe close to production, or after your customers have already been impacted by them. And it also results in an accessibility issue pileup, creating a backlog and disrupting the development pipeline. It's also hard for teams to collaborate. So by having disparate tools, each of them may have their own reporting system. Many times you're managing results via PDF or Excel. And you're also missing a source of truth for accessibility issues, where the entire team can agree on the issues and watch trends as they're resolved. So how can you actually scale your accessibility testing to avoid a lot of these challenges? The first way is by integrating it into your existing end-to-end tests. That allows you to reduce the sprawl of tools you're using, and with low-code solutions, it means you're also opening up access to more people on your team, reducing the learning curve and allowing you to achieve that test coverage more effectively. With tools like Mabel, you can also integrate these tests into your CI/CD process. You can customize them using conditionals and variables to run them against different environments. And you can also create modular snippets and flows that you can reuse across your testing. Based on your team's knowledge base, you can also customize your error messages to help scale accessibility knowledge across your team. And you can also build detailed reports to ensure that there's consistent and collaborative testing. So I'll share some examples on how to accomplish this using Mabel's low-code test automation platform. To exemplify what this might look like in practice, with low-code tools like Mabel, creating accessibility checks is incredibly simple. When you create a new test or edit an existing one, all you have to do is simply select the option to create a new step for accessibility. And based on the needs of your team, you can target that check against the entire page or an element. You can specify accessibility standards that your team is targeting, and you can add or disable specific rules based on your needs. And once you actually have these steps embedded in your tests, you can actually run them alongside any of your existing functional testing. So as you run these tests, Mabel is automatically aggregating and grouping trends over time. And that allows you to clearly set goals based on the needs of your team, aggregate all those results from your tests within the same workspace, and understand how common issues may impact multiple pages or elements. So obviously, accessibility is a very complex topic, and we're only scratching the surface today, but I hope you're able to walk away from this talk with a better understanding of the importance of accessibility and some of the first steps to bring accessibility to your own organization. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Excellent. So yeah, I have a question just from watching. And again, as I'll remind our attendees, if they want to ask a question, just pop it into the chat if their platform will allow that. So what I'm curious to know is like, what kind of accessibility issues can this kind of testing detect?
Yeah, sure. So automated tools are not entirely comprehensive. They're best paired with some level of manual compliance checks as well. But in the case of Mabel, our accessibility checks are powered by a framework called AXScore, which is a popular engine for accessibility testing. So that means we support the WCAG standards 2.0 through 2.2, level A through level AAA. So that's checking for any number of things within those different standards, including color contrast, labels, alternate text, and a lot of those attributes that are really important to make sure that people using screen readers or other assistive technology are actually able to navigate and use your site.
Mm-hmm. So what you offer doesn't actually put those types of things in place that would allow someone with some sort of a disability to access the website, but it just detects where problems may be for those people?
Right. So the key thing there with accessibility is really understanding the current state of your application, what you currently support, and where opportunities for improvement. So Mabel's not altering the development of your application, but it's assessing based on what it looks like today, the current state of that accessibility, and then provides you with guidance on how you can actually change your application to better meet the needs of those users.
Excellent. And so I understand there are a lot of free tools for this out in the marketplace. So what would be the differentiator for people to want to use Mabel?
Yeah, absolutely. There are a couple of key differences with Mabel. So first and foremost, with Mabel, you're testing in a unified platform. And that means that those checks can be integrated into your existing functional tests. So you're not managing two different suites of testing. It's also incredibly easy for anyone on your team to create these tests, so you don't need specific technical knowledge in order to do that. And I think the most compelling thing for us is that we make it really easy to focus on what matters. So with traditional tools, what's happening there is they're reporting on every single instance of an issue across multiple tests, which means you actually get a lot of noise. So Mabel is going to leverage data from your testing to not give you just a raw dump of all those issues, but actually grouping those violations by page to rule out any duplicates and similar tests that might be hitting the same issue and over again. That means that even if you're expanding your test coverage, you're not increasing your burden because you can really understand the impact of a given issue and where it's showing up across your testing.
Fantastic. Okay, Juliette McPhail, Product Manager at Mabel. Thanks so much for your time today. Appreciate it.
Thank you. It has been such a pleasure speaking with you.
Yes, and I'd like to thank all our attendees for being here. And if you want to put it into your calendar, episode 3 of this series will be presented on June the 21st. So we'd like for you to join in on that as well. And again, also thanks to Mabel for sponsoring this series. We certainly appreciate that as well. So until next time, I'm Dave Rubenstein, Editor-in-Chief of SD Times. So long for now.